Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you're having a good day. This is John here. I wanted to bring you a video to see if I can spike you guys' interest in a few different trends that I see going on in society that I think would be beneficial to be aware of. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get straight into the information. So the first thing that I noticed that I think we should be paying attention to is that we're progressively building new cities. We're creating cities, right? I think Akon, right? He is a good representative to be able to show the benefits of being able to attract a large assortment of investors to be able to involve themselves in the creation of something new, a new idea that might be beneficial to the majority of people that hadn't been given an opportunity to be able to compete in the same capitalist system that we had been creating for the benefit of the elitist class, right? That dude, he's basically in Africa. He's creating a new city, and it's going to be based on the new technologies that we have. So one of the deficits of having a structure that has already been set in place is that you can't necessarily add anything to it unless you destroy it first, right? There's that story that you can't, it's not a story necessarily, but it's like a real phenomenon that happens throughout. That's happened throughout society that can be illustrated in this idea, right? So a forest fire often happens due to the fact that you need to destroy all the things that were there prior to be able to have something new being built, right? In that same mindset that's the difficulty that a lot of people are seeing, right? We have these situations that everything is already set, right? Everything we've already created these foundations, but to be able to increase it or add to it, we might need to destroy it, right? And that's essentially what I think the protests are doing, is destroying the majority of the environment so that we can build it out better. But with that idea in mind, it's also good to think that not only are we building cities, right, which is something that's like going on in Africa, but we're also deciding, like China, for instance, they're building islands, right? Did you know that they're creating land that wasn't there prior to them deciding that they wanted to create it, right? What's to stop somebody from essentially building their own private island and then being able to have their own society based on that island, or building an island, or like having a spacecraft that would be able to essentially detach you away from the rest of the population, right? Like those are ideas that I think should be brought to people's attention, because I think that if we have people that are essentially separating themselves away from the rest of the population, then maybe the rest of the population might be able to involve themselves in the fact that they're being able to do that, right? Like if they can essentially detach themselves, what stops us from being able to involve ourselves in what they're doing? Or there are like certain buildings, I don't want to say, ships, right, that are basically underneath the water that allow people to be able to live self-sustaining lives and essentially detach themselves away from the rest of civilization, right? Like that's like those kind of things. I think it would be really interesting to be able to look into, so that people would have an opportunity to see what the ultra wealthy are being able to do with their amounts of wealth, right? Like the majority of people think that they're basically reinvesting it back into society in a beneficial way because they've been given the wealth to be able to do so. But a large majority of people are starting to think that they're not necessarily giving it back into society, but instead what they're doing is contributing back in ways that would help the perpetual dissolution of the rest of civilization, right? Another really interesting fact is that there's a large majority of ethnic people that are currently being aborted, right? So that abortion idea, I think that's it's a very interesting idea to be able to pay attention to, due to the rates at which they're happening, right? As well as which minorities in general are being affected most often. Like for example, I think it's a statistic that like 1,000 black people are aborted every single day, right? That already classifies itself as a type of genocide just based on the numbers, the statistics, right? As well as I think it's like 700 to 800 Latinos, and then at the very end of the spectrum, right, you have people that are basically white people, right, that are being aborted. I think it's like 1 to 200. So the estimated numbers that are happening is that it looks like the majority of people are being aborted are of ethnic minority, right? As well as situations that's happening like in Africa where like children are being sterilized, like kids are being sterilized so that they won't propagate, right? So the trends that the demographic within the population of Earth is heading towards is that the majority of the planet's going to be ethnic based instead of the racial white minority being the dominant race here on Earth, right? So the majority of people are either going to be Asian, Indian, Latin American, or Hispanic or Latino, and black. Right? If that's the way that it's trending, right, and are the majority of people that have the wealth are separating themselves away from society, building their own sustainable habitats, basically, as well as essentially aborting the majority of ethnic and minority races. It seems that there is a war of not only classes going on, but also of ethnic, racial. There's an ethnic and racial war going on at the same time. So that's just an interesting idea that I thought would be beneficial to, ask you guys about to see if you guys had an interesting perspective to be able to give me, so that we can continue this dialogue based on the information that I've just told you. Thank you. Have a good day.